Hi everyone. Today I'm going to combine two, maybe three, depending on how you count, subjects, topics, categories into this one video. First of all, I'm going to spend a few minutes introducing you to our next two practices, sungazing and connecting with the earth. And then for the remainder of the video, we're going to talk about cleansing, sensitivities, and kind of a continuation of the fuel source conversation that I began in the last video. So don't let me forget to hit all of those points. First of all, the reason that I'm not devoting an entire video to sungazing and connecting with the earth, or one video for each, as I have been doing with the previous practices, is not because they're not as important, but because I simply have less supporting information and conceptual knowledge to give you with them. Instead, I'm going to provide two documentaries, or at least the links for them or the titles for them, so that you can find them yourself on each one. And as a part of your homework, yes, homework, not just a suggestion, I want you to watch those documentaries. The sun-gazing one is called Eat the Sun, and the connecting with the earth one, in this moment I'm not 100% certain, but I think it's called Earthing. But those will be in the supplementary materials folder within this course. However, I'll share a little bit about my experience and perspective of each, because I have practiced them both quite a lot. In fact, when I was going through my first 9 months to a year of very intense and extreme experimentation with Breatharianism and these practices, including, as I said, vigils, or only sleeping 4 hours a night, but meditating up to 6 times throughout the day. I was also sun-gazing and connecting with the earth. Again, just like all of these other things that are actually ancient practices, there have become popularized names for them. And the popularized name for connecting with the earth is earthing, which again is why I think the documentary is called that. I know there's a book called Earthing. I actually have it up on my shelf right above my head, or your head, depending on your orientation. In any case, I don't always love to call them by their cliche popularized names because it makes it like a thing. And there's a lot of misunderstandings and misguidance in these fad movements, and often they don't approach it in the same way that I do. So I just don't like to preload your mind with preconceived ideas. I want it to be more of an organic experience rather than a thing. In any case, we do the best we can with what we're given. So I'm actually going to reference the Essene Gospel of Peace twice in this video today. First of which is coming now. I'm also probably going to include a link with the PDF, or at least how to find the Essene Gospel of Peace for yourself, because I highly recommend that you check that out as supplemental material as well. We're not going to get into a lot of theological speculation right now, but of the Jesus sources, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, A Course in Miracles, the Gnostic Gospels, etc., the Essene Gospel of Peace is one of those, and Jesus is a main character, or the main character, sometimes the one actually doing the speaking, in the 4 parts of the Essene Gospel of Peace. And I highly recommend it. Whatever you may believe about Jesus, or the authenticity of it being attributed to him or not, it is profound and truthful information that I have verified in many different ways. So in the Essene Gospel of Peace, Jesus makes reference to, once you have attained a certain enlightenment state, if you will, then you will be able to stare at the noonday sun without going blind. That, to me, implies that, number one, it's possible to stare at the sun and not go blind, but that also, number two, in the ancient spiritual cultures, sun gazing was a regular practice, or at least understood as something you could do. Just like in the meditation and sleep video, when I talked about first and second sleep, where they say it as though no big deal, it's just a part of regular life, commonly understood knowledge. So here as well, in the Essene Gospel of Peace, ancient writing where Jesus, or whoever wrote it, is just saying very casually that once you attain this certain level of awareness, then you will be able to stare at the noonday sun without going blind. Remember that the way I teach this is very different than a lot of spiritual traditions and lineages that emphasize ultimate awareness and neglect the body. You don't have to bring the body or the relative form along with you to be on a spiritual journey. However, if it's truly integral or integrated, if it's truly non-dual, then you must merge not just in consciousness, not just through higher gnosis, the higher mind, as we talked about in another video, but in your actual relative finite expression of your form, your body, mind, psyche, persona, self. If one of those is emphasized more than the other, then it's either half-baked or there's some denial going on, or it's not truly non-dual. Again, fine in the grand scheme of things, but if you're on this path with me, then you bring all parts on a moment-by-moment basis into the picture. Not just when you're meditating or not just sometimes. All the time, all parts. Real time. Every single moment. So, achieving a certain level of enlightenment or awareness or understanding, says Jesus, actually, it transforms your physical body. It transforms your ability and your capacity to receive the light of the sun and not go blind. Now again, take it with a grain of salt, but I'd like for you to look at it soberly when I say things that are a bit conspiratorial in nature. Because, of course, we don't like to believe that the ones we've been taught to trust are out to deceive us or have led us down the wrong path. But evidence shows in many different areas of life that that's true. There is a theory that our standard American diet, and in particular processed foods, all of the chemicals and artificial ingredients and flavorings, genetically modified organisms that are put in there, pesticides, etc., has or have over time created a calcification of the pineal gland. The pineal gland is somewhere a few inches back from your forehead, close to the center of your skull. And it's what's commonly, popularly referred to as the third eye. Now, just like the chakra conversation, if the third eye is not just some woo-woo kind of psycho-spiritual symbol, but is actually a functional part of your makeup, not just on the chakra level, but on the physical level, is an actual organ, an actual anatomical part of your body that's actually incredibly important, because it holds the gateway, or is the gateway, I should say, to higher spiritual connection, psychic, quote-unquote, abilities. It has a lot to do with dream time, sleep-wake cycle, circadian rhythms. It holds within it the chemical DMT, in fact, that is a now pretty well known in a lot of New Age spiritual circles as a psychedelic, medicinal, ceremonial substance to be usually smoked from a pipe in these healing circles. That people are taking part in more and more. This is not recommended as a party drug, as recreation. And in fact, I teach a no bells and whistles, very bare bones approach to meditation and spirituality in general. So I actually don't even recommend that you experiment with these medicinal psychedelic plants and herbs and chemicals. So please hear me say that disclaimer right now. I'm serious about that. You can actually achieve organically on your own, with your own mind, your own awareness, your own consciousness, your own practice, and in a way that's actually rooted permanently. The same, but actually better, because it's rooted permanently, effects and healing benefits that people go to these plant medicine ceremonies for. Plenty of people have had psychotic breaks from ayahuasca, psilocybin, even marijuana if used inappropriately, DMT, MDMA, etc. So I am not recommending that. You can achieve everything as far as states of heightened awareness on your own without those exterior substances. And it's even better because you've activated your own ability to get there. And it's not just a peak with a valley and a crash. In fact, there's a story of Neem Karoli Baba, or Maharishi, or Maharaji, one of those, Neem Karoli Baba. He's like the big fat guru from the 20th century that is seen as a bald guy with this mustache, and he's often laying on his side, like doing funny things with his feet. He's like holding his feet, and he's laying on his side, and he's laughing and smiling, and he always looks happy and jubilant. He was Ram Dass and Krishna Das's teacher for a while, and they would go visit him in India. And they were very much during the 70s, the hippie movement, the love movement, the Jesus movement, experimenting, the psychedelic movement, experimenting with LSD in particular and others, and having profound spiritual experiences with them. And so they were so excited to take some to their guru for him to experience it, and probably had in their mind that, whoa, it's just going to take him to a whole another level. He's already way up there, and when he gets a hold of this, it's going to be through the roof even more. So the story goes, they went and held out in the palm of one of their hands some, whatever it was, little tabs or pills, or I don't know. You can tell I don't have much experience with it. Whatever form they were in, and told him, take one. Told him, try one. And that dude grabbed the whole handful, threw them in his mouth, and they're, of course, like, oh, and waiting on pins and needles to see what's going to happen. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. And astonished, they asked him, like, why? Like, what? How is that possible? And he basically said, 'cause I'm already there. I'm already one with all things. I'm already on a very regular basis, soberly experiencing the heightened awareness that these gateway substances, if you will, were bringing to others, because they were lower, so it would bring them high, but because it was an externally ingested supplement, if you will, then it didn't last, and it wasn't rooted in, and they weren't able to get back there. They could remember it. A gateway was opened. The experiences were there for them to draw on, unforgettably so. But how to induce it on their own without that assistance is what all the authentic spiritual lineages and traditions, in my opinion, are doing, are offering, are teaching. And so, DMT, which has become one of these popularized ceremonial medicines, is already in your pineal gland or third eye. And a tiny, 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 tiny little bit is secreted at night when you're dreaming. So it's very image-based, it's very psychoactive, it's very psychedelic. The experience that's reported by those who do take DMT as a ceremonial substance is that the 10 or so minutes, because they say it's very short, the 10 or so minutes of the trip, if you will, or the ride of it, feels literally like eternity. And it can be eternity in heaven or eternity in hell. And it literally feels like the person has died, crossed over, and is experiencing forever in one of these places with a lot of fireworks and terrifying visions that they then have to come back and integrate and process. So, of course, we can't help when the veil just gets lifted and you kind of see through it all at once, which, very humbly I say, happened to me when I was 7. That in and of itself, I had no control over. So therefore, it was a divine grace and was supposed to happen, but it short-circuited my psyche. And it has taken, since then until now, and will continue to take longer to integrate it, to understand it. But along the way, I developed a lot of neuroses, actual psychological mental illnesses that I experienced, was medicated for, and subsequently came off of and healed. But because that was, in my belief and opinion, directed and ordained by God, then I was kept safe through it, and all of the experiences that I went through were necessary and a part of it. The organic, step-by-step approach that I take officially in teaching meditation and the other spiritual deep work that I teach is a much more sure and steady way to reach the same place, but in a very rooted, embodied, integrated way that you can access and activate at will on your own and not have to rely on the outside. So a lot of people come back from these plant medicine, psychedelic ceremonies, and they literally have a meltdown. They literally can't function anymore in society, or worse, the ego gets a hold of it and it gets a messiah complex, becomes very narcissistic, thinks it now holds the answers to save the world. And I've seen this actually with acquaintances, former friends, as well as some YouTube personalities and quote-unquote spiritual teachers. In any case, there's a theory that reports of heaven or hell eternally after death, eternity in time, like a forever amount of time, which is different than ultimate, eternal, or infinite awareness, which is beyond time and space altogether, but that's for another conversation. But eternity in time and space, in a place called heaven or hell or otherwise, because the experience with DMT is such that it feels like 10 minutes was forever, literally, it's believed that when someone dies, actually this part is not just belief, this is the truth. When someone dies, the floodgate opens up and all of the DMT in that person's pineal gland is released at once into the system, rather than just one hit of it from a ceremony, and rather than the tiny amount that's secreted at nighttime when you're dreaming. So all of it comes at once when the person dies, and it is then therefore deduced or induced, I always get those confused. It's concluded theoretically that maybe that's the experience of forever in heaven or hell. Now, that's not me saying the afterlife doesn't exist. In fact, nobody knows. What we can't get around is the fact of consciousness itself, that you are aware, that you know it, that you are here, and that you know it. That's the grand mystery, and where quote-unquote consciousness comes from, that's also the grand mystery. So put all of that aside. You can do your own research if you want. Point is, the pineal gland, or the third eye, anatomically holds profound possibilities for spiritual understanding, connection, awakening, oneness, higher knowledge, gnosis. But our pineal gland has been calcified. And even shriveled up like a raisin. I remember one of the versions of Raisin Bran back in the day, the cereal. Do you remember they had actually, after the original regular Raisin Bran, they had like Raisin Bran Crunch, and I think it was Raisin Nut Bran or something. And the Raisin Nut Bran had this is just my mental associations. Raisin Nut Bran, the raisins had this thin coating on it that was like nut dust. It made them taste really good. But in my mind, that's kind of what the calcification of the pineal gland looks like, or is analogized as, is analogous to the nut covering on raisins in Raisin Nut Bran. Which desensitizes those spiritual experiences. Desensitizes you to them, so you're no longer sensitive to those aspects of yourself. We're literally numbed out and dumbed down. I think I need to turn a little more light on. One sec. And the theory is, actually this probably isn't a theory either. Research has shown, but again, you can look up the details of it, that aspects and ingredients of our standard American garbage diet contributes to that calcification. In addition to that, think of, from the time we are children, we are told, don't look at the sun, you'll go blind. Don't look at the sun, you're going to hurt your eyes. Now, I do have a sober, research-based, intuition-based opinion. It's not just tinfoil hat wearing fanaticism, but I have a grounded opinion through cross-referencing and a lot of study around conspiracy theory. I don't just buy everything I'm told in the conspiracy world or the mainstream world. Not at all. I check into it, I look into it. But it makes sense to me that if all of this is true, then there are those that know it's true, then why are we kept from it? Why are we so dumbed down? Why are we flat out lied to? Don't look at the sun, you'll go blind. Oh, that's just your parents didn't know any better. Well, why didn't the parents know any better? Oh, well, their parents. Well, that generation, blah, blah, blah. Well, who fed it into that generation? When meanwhile, in the Essene Gospel of Peace, Jesus mentions the ability to look at the sun when you have reached higher states of consciousness. Where did it all go wrong? And why? But again, that's for you to research. Now, hear me say, this is why I want you to check out the Eat the Sun documentary along with this. You can hurt your eyes if you look at the sun at the wrong time of day, before you have cultivated the practice, like the inverse of what Jesus is saying, obviously, is before you've reached these levels of enlightenment, then you'll look at the noonday sun and go blind. So that's the opposite that's implied in what Jesus is saying. So you can hurt your eyes if you don't do it with the correct technique, the right time of day, the right awareness, mindset, breathing pattern, which is one reason why I've brought the breath in and yoga and meditation before this. And connecting with the earth is also a component to sun gazing as well, which is another reason why I'm introducing them both at the same time. So, the other truth that has come from study and research is that looking at the sun appropriately, mindfully, with the right technique, with the right psyche, with the nervous system that's strong enough, the right breath, the right body, etc., activates, guess what? Your pineal gland. So do the math here. Don't look at the sun, you'll go blind. Not, let me teach you, kids, how to look at the sun appropriately so that you can activate your pineal gland and be connected spiritually. How come we are not taught anything like this in school? And yet there are sun gazers all across the world, current and from the past, myself included, that have not only experienced profound benefits from it, heightened awareness, greater uplift in energy. There are actually a whole movement of people that claim to be breatharians and just sun gaze without the other practices, but the amount of time that they spend every day sun gazing is more than I've ever done and more than I necessarily recommend. But once you get into this, if you really love it, then you can increase it until you're enlightened and can look at it all the way up in the noon sky. Pretty cool. But the cognitive dissonance is thick. So if you're there, making up a bunch of reasons or excuses just because you don't want to believe that maybe we've been led astray intentionally, then that's okay. Just stay with the truth and the facts and the experientials of what I'm saying to you. But just consider, why weren't we taught these things? Why not? And in fact, kind of taught the exact opposite. Fed food in elementary school cafeteria, school lunches, as well as processed food and other things that calcifies the pineal gland, which dulls out our spiritual connection, psychic abilities, higher knowledge, and are told, don't look at the sun, you'll go blind. We're wearing sunglasses. Our eyes are very sensitive. Anytime the sun's out, sunglasses on to protect from UV rays, which this Eat the Sun documentary addresses. Now, I'm not an expert in this. I'm not a doctor. But the vitamin D from the sun, I'm not suggesting that you get sunburned. I'm not suggesting that you try to get skin cancer, because those things do happen as well, and that's not healthy. But decent, balanced exposure to the sun is highly nourishing, healthy, and psychospiritually activating, and increases prana. It's just the truth. And so, not to mention those either omissions on the one hand or straight up lies on the other hand, prevent us from awakening that But when it's shown that sun gazing actually activates the pineal gland and helps to decalcify it, among other things you can research, there are other things that you can do to decalcify the pineal gland. And I just remembered a while ago another book that I'm going to put in the supplemental material to go along with this, or just an author in general, Jacob Lieberman. The book that I've read is called, well, two of them, Take Off Your Glasses and See, Take Off Your Glasses and See, and Light, Medicine of the Future. I think he's got others, but he was an eye doctor, whether an optometrist or an ophthalmologist, I'm not sure, and I don't even know the difference between the two, but trained very mainstream as an eye doctor, and through a series of experiences for himself and things that he stumbled upon and was kind of divinely led into, I believe he's actually featured in the Eat the Sun documentary, so look out for him, but check out his books as well. He realized that there's also a conspiracy in the mainstream eyeglass and eye test and eye doctor world, where actually your glasses, if you have prescription lenses, they make your eyesight worse, and then you become reliant and addicted to them. And every year, you have to get another prescription that's making it even worse and making you more narrow-sighted and not opening your periphery, so the muscles in there don't get worked. And what he realized actually were certain techniques that he used himself, sun gazing being one of them, to be able to reverse that. Most people believe, once you hit a certain age or once your eyes start going bad, they're just going to get worse and worse and worse. But actually, he has been able to turn that whole paradigm on its head to help people not need prescription lenses anymore, himself included. And their eyesight gets better and better and better. So that's quite profound. So, sun in general, we know, is life-giving, but we're taught to fear it, unfortunately. And yes, don't get skin cancer. Don't get sunburned. But exposure to the sun, gazing at the sun in the right way, is very healthy. Okay, so there's many different ways that you can take the practice of this. I want you to watch the documentary, maybe do a little research on your own, but know that there is a wrong way to do it. There is a wrong way, and then there are many right ways. So for sure, from sunrise to about 30 to 45 minutes after sunrise, the sun is safe to look at. And 30 to 45 minutes before sunset and all the way to sunset, it's safe to look at. And as you increase this, if you want to go longer and longer and longer, then longer than that eventually gets safe to look at. But you have to do it gradually. So here's how I do it. Find a spot, hopefully maybe in your own very yard you have a good space, or in your neighborhood, or a park close by, or you Colorado folks go up on the mountain somewhere, sunrise, sunset, and combine meditation with it. Combine some yoga with it. Combine these things. It can be a deeply devotional practice as well. Some chanting, just being quiet, connecting with the earth. So, wherever you find where you can see the horizon line, east or west, whether it's sunrise or sunset, as far out and as best and as clear as you can, take your shoes off. If the terrain is not such that you can be totally barefoot on the earth, then wear socks or put a blanket down. Or if it's too cold, socks or blanket. But make sure the socks or the blanket or the slippers are organic fibers. Cotton, wool, not synthetic, not rubber soled. Or the blanket is 100% organic, natural fibers, not synthetic. Connect to the earth, standing. And then I like to bring my hands to what's called the lower dantian in the Tai Chi tradition. So just the area kind of like just below your navel, just very simply and gently, not touching, but hovering a few inches, a couple inches off of your lower abdomen. And start to kind of feel that like pulsing of energy that you can detect off the surface of your skin. Connect to the energy, especially those of you who are trained in that or are more sensitive to it anyway. And then the technique that I found that I like is to start to connect your heartbeat to your breath. Now, as with all these other practices that I give, there are masculine and feminine approaches to each. So the masculine approach would be stick to the structure. The feminine approach would be feel it. But remember, if you're taking the masculine approach, not to make it too rigid. If you're taking the feminine approach, not to just do it mindlessly without taking responsibility. And know why you're choosing which one. Whether it's Pratipakша Bhavana, or you've planned it out, or one of each every other time. So also, just because it feels good, or if you're taking the feminine approach without counting or using a clock or something like that, make sure the ego is not getting involved that tells you to stop too soon or to go too far. That's the danger when you don't have the ego in check of using a feminine approach. On the other hand, if you don't have the ego in check, the danger of using the masculine approach is that you're too rigid with it. So, find the balance, but the more masculine approach technique is that you inhale to the count of 8 heartbeats and then exhale to the count of 8 heartbeats. And get that equalized. 8 heartbeats, inhale, 8 heartbeats, exhale. As much as you can, feel your connection to the earth. Feel crown of the head, connection to the sky. And then, as you're ready, look directly at the sun. Now, you'll see in the Eat the Sun documentary, they recommend like 5 seconds on the first day, then like 10 seconds on the second day. It's a very slow approach so that you don't hurt yourself. 15 seconds on the third day. I think you can feel it out a little more than that. There's kind of an intuitive knowing, like, okay, that's good enough. But don't be overzealous. Be patient. And at the same time, don't be afraid if you do all of this appropriately. So once you have the breath regulated, you look at the sun. Some people, it helps to squint their eyes where there's the buffer of your eyelashes to see through. And that's fine if you want to do that. But also wide open eyes works just fine. Typically blue eyes, mine, are more sensitive than the others because there's a particular layer. What makes the eye blue is there's actually a layer that blue eyes don't have that the others do have. So it's not like the addition of a pigment, it's actually the subtraction of a layer that the other colors have, which is quite interesting. So Continuing with the breath. On your inhale, feel, receive, imagine. So the sun is already hitting your eyeballs, but imagine that it's actually coming in to the center of your forehead, to your pineal gland. Feel that, imagine it, energetically the sun coming on the inhale to your pineal gland and down your spine into your belly. You can even imagine like the glowing ball of sun is in your belly now, warming it. And then on your exhale, you're redirecting the energy back to itself. So it's also been said, if you don't do that step and you just are like either reaching out and looking at it, you're like looking rather than receiving, then you can burn spots on your eyes. Also, if you don't give the excess energy back to the sun to recycle it, then it can also kind of short circuit your nervous system and injure you as well. So both are important. You're receiving it. You're not reaching out to look. You're receiving it on the inhale, coming in through your third eye, down to your belly, and then on the exhale, imagining light, energy, sunshine, heat, however you imagine it, going back to the sun. So it's this circular receiving and giving back that you're doing with your breath, your heartbeat, the sun. Inhale, 8 breaths, bring it in, down your spine to your belly. Exhale, 8 breaths, give it back. And you continue that until it feels complete. Or if you want to follow 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, increase it very slowly day to day, depending on how often you do it. Once it feels complete, what I like to do is close my eyes and then kind of bring my palms up to face the sun and kind of give gratitude, receive some energy into your palms. There will be a big yellow spot in your kind of in the middle of your vision right then and for probably a little while longer, for the next hour or so, just like when you blink, until you get used to it. Don't be alarmed by that. If you do it consciously, mindfully, carefully, follow these instructions, you won't get hurt. But only from 0 to 30 or 45 minutes in the morning, or 30 or 45 minutes down to 0 in the evening, sunrise, sunset. Don't go longer than that until you've actually built it up. I think the most I've done is maybe like 10 minutes at a time. But again, some of these hardcore ones religiously do it sunrise and sunset. It's like they're going to eat meat, like going to eat sunrise and sunset for like an hour or more every single day. Just depends on your priority, your lifestyle, how much you really connect with this practice. Then here's where connecting with the earth comes in with this practice. After that, close my eyes. I like to bend down, squat down, bring my palms to the earth. Feet are already on the earth, and even tilt the crown of my head towards the earth, or maybe even touch the crown of my head to the earth. I can actually feel where the stem of my crown chakra, actually I can point exactly where each chakra energetically is. I can just feel it. It's kind of like, those acupuncturists are very sensitive to where the invisible buttons are, and it's not just because they memorize the chart, they can feel it. I can feel exactly where energetically the chakra is, not just physiological, and it's probably not the exact same on every person. See if you can tune into that and place that towards the earth or on the earth and be there, recycling and re-equalizing with the earth until it feels complete. And you're done. And as always, keep track and notice the effects. the changes energetically, physically, etc., emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Just like with all the other practices, especially if maybe you were a little hungry before, what did you feel energetically? Did you feel more energized? A cleaner burn of energy where you're not hungry anymore? It's quite interesting, quite profound. Got some amazing winter snowy weather blowing in right now. So I'll say only briefly now about actual earthing or actual connection to the earth. I want you to watch the documentary. But just think about, and I'm not so convinced about the conspiratorial nature of this one as I am the Sungazing one. But the truth is we've been cut off from Mother Earth. And in the Essene Gospel of Peace, Jesus talks about Heavenly Father and Earthly Mother a lot. In the Christian tradition, it's just Heavenly Father, right? But he talks about the Earthly Mother a lot. Capital Earthly, capital Mother in the Essene Gospel of Peace. And that both are necessary. God, Goddess, masculine, feminine, however you want to conceive of it. Father, Mother. It makes a lot of sense, too. But we have been cut off from our earthly mother through EMFs, electromagnetic frequency that throws off the earth grid. And we're dealing with that the best we can, of course. Through the shoes we wear that are synthetic, through the tires on our cars, sidewalks. Just think about it. It's a whole conversation for another time about evolution and progress and modern conveniences and how to incorporate a balanced, harmonious connection with nature while still, moving forward with conveniences and how evolution itself likes to make things better and easier, but unfortunately when we make things better and faster and easier, then we lose connection with the essentials. We cut ourselves off. We forget to slow it down. We forget to connect, and then we take it way overboard to a pathological degree. But just consider all the ways that we've been cut off from Mother Earth. Which includes the elements. Water, air, wind, not to mention what's happening right now on our planet with not being able to breathe very well. I'm not going to go into what that is. Earth, water, air, wind, fire, which we just talked about, fire. In any case, connecting with the earth as a practice is literally as simple as either walking outside barefoot, connecting your feet, your hands, the crown of your head, like I just described, to the earth, or lying flat on your back on the earth. Flat on the earth. And I probably don't have to tell you that our whole definition and use of the word dirty as meaning like unclean or germy is not even true. There could be some conspiracy in that one. Dirty, just having dirt on you, and that's connoted as a bad thing, a negative thing, an unwanted thing. I think that's a problem. And then wash yourself and take way too many baths, way too many showers that remove the natural antibacterial or germ-fighting abilities of our body. the oils, and everything else. I don't know much about that one. But it is true, we take way too many showers, way too many baths. We become accustomed to, lotion and soaps and the sterile antibacterial components in our beauty products or our grooming products and our hygiene. We have natural cleansing abilities, and just getting dirt on you is not a bad thing. It's actually quite a healthy thing. So anyway, barefoot or hands down or lying on the earth, again, with as little synthetic material between you and the earth as possible. And especially if you feel kind of ungrounded, especially for you Vatas, or if you've been around people that kind of zapped you, or you picked up on some energy that's difficult to deal with, or after a long day's work, or for you healers and body workers, if you feel kind of drained, you didn't appropriately take care of yourself energetically that day around your clients or around the world, or when you go into the city to run errands or whatever it is and you feel just off, then go lay on the ground. And there will be a moment, and imagine yourself connecting with the frequency of the earth. There's a lot more research you can do on it. Connecting with the frequency of the earth and giving Mother Earth back all of the other energy that you picked up during the day. And re-equalizing with that vibration. It's an actual frequency. It's a number of hertz, a Schumann resonance that other people have done a lot more research than me, so I don't want to say something incorrectly, but look all of this up if it interests you and watch this documentary. Lay there until you feel complete. Lay there until you feel reset. You might even take a little brief nap and feel and imagine giving back to the earth to be recycled anything you may have picked up during the day energetically that's affecting you adversely. Eventually, you don't have to do, or at least it's possible to not have to do all of this maintenance. And that's part of what we're going to be talking about in the cleansing conversation. Obviously, I went a lot longer here than I set out to, so we're going to save. This is going to be the completion of the Sungazing and connecting to the earth practice introduction. Watch those documentaries. Check out the Essene Gospel of Peace. I'll put specific page numbers that would be helpful for you to look at. And look at the Jacob Lieberman books. Anything that interests you, but definitely try these practices out at least a few times to see how they affect you. See how you like them. See what you experience. See what other doorways might open up. So the other reference to the Essene Gospel of Peace, the cleansing, the sensitivity, which is going to include an answer to a question that I received a couple of weeks ago. You know who you are, about the sensitivity factor in a deep fast or during Breatharian state. So that's coming up in next video, talking more about a clean burn of energy, fuel sources from the previous one, cleansing, and whatever else I said at the beginning of this video. I told you not to let me forget, but I feel good that we continued with this length of time for sungazing and connecting with the earth. They're both very important, so don't let the degree of or the amount of time spent with any of them deter you. Obviously, yoga meditation is kind of my thing, and pranayama is very much incorporated into that, but I have practiced all of these that I'm introducing to you in general in my life, but also specifically for my breatharian process many, many, many times, a whole lot. So please experiment. Please ask me any questions for clarification that you might have, and keep up the good work. Namaste.